Ahoy cruise enthusiast. All right, there are a lot of videos here on YouTube talking about planning your cruise. Lots of advice, when to plan, what you have to plan, what you don't need to plan, and everything. So I thought, let me look back at all the cruise lines that I have sailed and all the cruises that I have taken, and let's rank cruise lines by the necessity of planning beforehand. Okay, we're gonna start at the bottom with cruise lines that don't require a whole lot of planning, and we're gonna work our way up to the cruise line that requires the most amount of planning. This is not necessarily a best list, right? It's just the fact of life when booking with these cruise lines. So, I'm just gonna say there's 5 levels, right? Because there are a couple of co-winners or cohabitants on each level for different reasons, so we'll just get into all that. Okay, so first, let's talk about the luxury cruises I've taken, particularly Crystal and Explorer Journeys. There's really no need to plan on either of these. I don't think anyone is surprised by that. There's so few guests, and the service level is so elevated that you really can just wing it, not really worry. I know Explorer has a guarantee that you get at least 1 reservation at each restaurant, and you can take care of that ahead of time, or they will take care of that ahead of time, or your travel agent can take care of that ahead of time. And on Crystal, you only really need to book the 2 premium restaurants, Uma Thurman and Danny DeVito. I don't actually remember what their names are, but even then, they were only booked on the first 2 nights. After that, not a problem at all. Everything else is pretty much just a walk-in, so don't worry about anything on the luxury lines. 2 other honorable mentions. I have only sailed on Holland America once, on Rotterdam. Wow, that was over 2 years ago, I think. And it was January, packed sailing, but I had no problems. I don't even know if you could book shows, but every time I went to the theater, I had no problem getting a seat. And I had 2 dining credits. I had no problem using them. I just made the reservations a couple days in, and I had no problem. Also, Virgin, another cruise line where I winged it both times. I will say, however, you might want to try and plan dining ahead of time, but if you don't, both times, I just went to the desk on embarkation day and asked them to just book me in each restaurant whenever there was availability. I don't know if they have a specific guarantee, but it worked out for me. So everything else, I just showed up and really didn't have a problem. So there you go. All right, so for the remaining 5 levels of almost none all the way to you definitely got to. All right, before we get started, I will take this opportunity, because this is where I should be doing this, to please go ahead, subscribe the video if you get any useful information out of it. It means the world to us, and it doesn't cost you anything, unless you're a premium subscriber, and then you just pay for it every month, but that's beside the point. Anyway, all right, so now that is out of the way, all right, number 5, the 2 cruise lines that you really have to worry least about when planning ahead are Margaritaville and Disney, for a couple of different reasons. Margaritaville, they do try to have a very chill, relaxed, low-key environment on board. And, all the major cruise ship stuff, like the shows and everything, they are, every time I've gone, it's just been a regular walk-up. They don't do, major Broadway productions, although they really should bring back Tales from Margaritaville. I mean, come on, guys. But, yeah, it really is just, just fun cruise ship entertainment. You just, walk in. As for specialty dining, there's only been a couple times when JWB has been booked, and I just picked whatever was first available, and it was not a problem. I don't even think they let you pre-reserve these things, so if you just want to take care of it when you board the ship, or just, try and do a walk-up, I have never had a problem with that. As for Disney, there is a lot going on the ship, all the normal cruise activities, of course, all the Disney-specific activities, the parties, the shows, the character meet and greets and everything. And one thing Disney does, I'm sure you've all heard about it, the rotational dining. So you don't have to worry about making dining reservations every night, because you are assigned your dining room rotation, and you are assigned, and that means you will be seeing either the first or late show. So that pretty much handles most of the things you really have to worry about. So just because there's not a lot that you would really need to book, and because a lot of it is taken care of for you, you really don't have to plan too much on your Margaritaville or Disney cruise. All right, the number 4 category in, let's just say this is, you can plan, but you don't really have to. This is, again, shared by Norwegian and Carnival. They are kind of similar in a lot of ways. I know, no offense, Norwegian, but they do have big shows, they do have on-deck activities, and they do have a full slate of normal cruise activities. But especially with Norwegian's recent change of just not accepting show reservations anymore, it really is much more of a free at sea type of vibe. And I don't even know if Carnival ever lets you reserve seating for shows. I never did, and I never had a problem. So I hope everybody else has had that same experience. So while they do have a lot of like major activities, like, you know, the water slides, and Norwegian has the go-karts and everything like that, I really never had a problem just kind of showing up and hoping that there was availability and always finding it, right? Even Bolt, I don't think you could ever make reservations for it. They have a queue and everything, and it's never been busy. So I've just done it as a walk-up every time, and it's been fine. So yes, number 4, you can, because they have major fun stuff, but you don't really need to. Number 3, and right, they're here. They're not number 2 for a reason, but number 3, just because they have a lot of activities, but depending on the class of ship, you may not even be able to book them, and that would be MSC. Yes, the larger MSC ships, particularly the World class and the Meraviglia, the World class, the Meraviglia class, and the Seashore class, and Evo and Evo Plus class. They have, well, okay, the thing is, MSC, if you've never sailed with them, they have, in a way, more than anybody else. They have a full slate of activities during the day. They have a full slate of shows, a full slate of themed parties. They have very active upper decks with, you know, the water slides and the zip lines and bumper cars and the edge and the robot, all these different kinds of things, you know, for upper deck activities that are only reservable on the World class, right? But every time I've sailed on, you know, even the non-World class ships, I've never really had a problem. I did the bumper cars walk up. I did the zip line walk up. The slides are always a walk up. And everything else, there's never anyone in line for the F1 simulator or the 4D theater. So despite the fact that they have all of these great activities, I have never had a problem just walking up, and most of them you can't even book. On the World class, you can book the dry slide, you can book the bumper cars, I think you can book the ropes course, and you can book the edge, the over the edge swing or whatever it was. But, you know, I did a walk up, I got in the standby line, and had no problem doing it. So yeah, for MSC, you know what? The only thing you really need to plan on MSC is, you know, just have an idea of what you want to do every day, because there is a lot to do, especially if you want to do all of it. That's what you got to do. But in terms of pre-booking everything, I wouldn't worry about it. Number 2, this might shock a lot of people, but Princess. Now, I say this because after my experience on Sun Princess and just the whole situation with dining and the dome show and everything like that, and having seen other videos about people having the same problems a year later on Sun, and I presume Star Princess, this is an instance where, yes, as soon as you make that reservation, as soon as you can, I don't know if it's final payment or make a deposit or whatever, you got to go in there and you got to start booking stuff, because you'll have Princess Premier, and really this only applies to people with Princess Premier. If you really want to use it, yeah, you got to go in there and you got to make all your dining reservations ahead of time, because you'll miss out. Like, I was on Sun Princess and I ended up just not using several nights and going to Rudy's twice, which wasn't that great. Yeah, you know, and the dome is like this big, you know, right? So come on, Princess, what were you thinking? So yeah, if you're sailing on Princess, especially if you have Premier, you really do need to go in, reserve everything you can, specifically dining as early as you can if you want to be able to experience all the restaurants and get the most out of your Premier package. And that leaves number 1, the only cruise line that's left. And this is not necessarily a bad thing, but Royal Caribbean. And they're number 1 simply because you can pre-book pretty much everything. And the thing about Royal Caribbean is they have so many venues and so many shows. The Aqua Theater, the main theater, the ice show. You can book top deck activities like the Crown's Edge, Flow Rider, the iFly on the Quantum class. I think you could pre-book North Star on the Quantum class. And everything like that. So yes, simply because you can pre-book everything, there's a heck of a lot of pressure to do that. When I sailed Icon of the Seas, I kind of knew this since I wanted to see all the shows. Yes, as soon as they had my money, I went into the planner and I booked a lot. And okay, a problem with this, a side effect is you're kind of locked in when you board the ship. You know your schedule. It's honestly, it's kind of like going to work, right? You know your whole schedule for the rest of the cruise, and you kind of better stick to it, especially if you made reservations for specialty dining or the theatrical dining. Talk about the Royal Railway and things like that. I don't know if they're easy to change. You know, I got in on the last day on Icon of the Seas for the supper club, but simply because you can and people will. When you're sailing on Royal Caribbean, yes, you better try and plan everything ahead of time. And then when you get on board, well, you better stick to that schedule. Otherwise, you know, your cruise will be ruined. And actually, that's honestly not really a joke. So, yeah, there you go. The 5 levels of how much you have to plan for the cruise lines that I have experienced. Number 5. Pretty low-key, not a whole lot of reason to plan. That would be Margaritaville and Disney. Number 4, there are things you can plan but don't really need to. Norwegian and Carnival. A lot of activities, so while you might not be able to book them all ahead of time, you really need a strategy for getting them done because there's so many of them. Number 2, especially if you want to eat, you gotta go and make those reservations. That would be Princess if you have the Premier package. And finally, Royal Caribbean, because, yeah, if you want to do everything, and you want to get a spot, and you can book everything, Royal Caribbean, yeah. Okay, well, there you go. I hope you get your next cruise planned, or if you really don't want to plan your cruise, then you know what, just sail on one of the smaller or luxury lines, and hopefully, if they get out of the Arabian Sea, you know, Celestial. It's a great cruise line. No need to plan anything, never had any problems, so keep that in mind. So, well, you know what? If we are on a Royal Caribbean cruise and we book everything ahead of time, hopefully we book the same thing and I will see you out of the cabin.